it going? My name is Elise, and today we are going to be going over my best and most surprising books of 2022. I am so excited. I feel like I had a pretty good reading year this year. I'm so excited for this video to just be positive, to love on some books. I will be putting up my worst and most disappointing books video after this one, which is not going to be as positive, but let's just dive right in and focus on some positivity in this video. We're going to start with my most surprising books of 2022, and actually we're going to do a quick honorable mention, which is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. I read this book this year, and I think it came out last year. I was very surprised because the way that BookTube and everybody was talking about this book, I was convinced that I was in for a big pile of dog. And yeah, it was fine. It was a fine book. And I was very pleasantly surprised that it wasn't as bad as everyone made it out to be. It wasn't great, but it wasn't the worst book ever written. People were acting like it was the worst book ever to be written in the history of books. So it was fine. It was fine. But on to my real most surprising books of 2022. I have 3 here. Okay, so the first book that I have is Black Girls Must Die Exhausted. I just was very pleasantly surprised by how much I really enjoyed this book. I didn't really go in with any expectations. I had never read from this author before, and I really enjoyed it. And I even read the sequel, which is Black Girls Must Be Magic, and I really enjoyed that. And I'm really hoping to continue on with this series if the author writes more. This book is about Tabitha, and Tabitha is a Black woman who just seems to have it all. She has a relationship, she has a house, a car, a good career, like everything going for her. And then she gets some unfortunate news that she may not be able to have children, and that just sends her down this path. You know, the doctor tells her if she wants to have children, she will have to go and try and make that happen sooner rather than later. And now she has to choose between her career and her relationship, and whether or not she wants to have kids. And this just sends her down this path of trying to make everything she wants in life to happen, but at what cost? I really enjoyed it. Another book that I found really surprising that I loved is Savvy Sheldon Feels Good as Hell by Taj McCoy. I picked this book up on a whim. I was on Amazon one day and it just popped up, and I thought that the cover looked very cute. I thought Savvy here looked amazing, and I just picked it up. And I read it as part of my reading plus size romances vlog. I will go ahead and link that down below. And I had absolutely no expectations for this book whatsoever. This is the author's debut novel. I really did not know what I was getting myself into, and I actually really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to read anything else that this author comes out with. This book is about Savvy. Savvy, she's in a relationship, she has her career going for her, and her boyfriend that she has just really turns out to be a jerk. He doesn't like her working so much, and he also doesn't like that she has put on a little weight, and ends up breaking up with her and using terms like let herself go, which I hated. And she sets off to kind of get this revenge on him and make herself healthier and show him what he's missing out on. But it really turns into this book about self love and self acceptance and her just really loving herself. And I was a little worried going in, thinking that it was going to be really focused on this like revenge body plot, but that is not the case. It doesn't focus on her like weight loss or anything like that. It's just more so her loving herself. And she meets this man who, you know, really loves her for everything that she is. And it's really good. I really enjoyed it. I feel like I've never heard a single person talk about this book, so I am here to tell you about it and, you know, hopefully you pick it up. And lastly, books that were really surprising to me is Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl by Joya Goffney. I did read Joya's other book, Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry, and I did really enjoy that. I read that last year. So I was expecting to enjoy this, but I just wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. So in this book, you are following Monique, and Monique is a daughter of a preacher and is a good girl. And she has a boyfriend, and after a couple of years of being together and trying to have sex and failing to have sex, her boyfriend breaks up with her, and Monique enlists a couple of people to help her figure out what is going on with her body and why she is so unable to have sex. And it really is this book about this young girl discovering herself and discovering her body and really just coming into her self as a young woman. And I really enjoyed it, and there is a little romance plot in here. And I just was really shocked because at the time that I read this, I wasn't really reading any YA romances, and I loved it and have read a few more YA romances since then because this was so good. Okay, you guys, on to the best books that I read this year. I'm not even for sure where to start. Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. I loved this book so much. I do think that this book is really sparking my love for Greek mythology at the moment. I just want to read so many books based on Greek mythology right now because this book was amazing. So this is following Ariadne, who is the princess of Crete, and she meets Theseus, who has showed up to kill her brother, the Minotaur, and she, you know, betrays her family and helps him out in the killing of her brother and leaves with him, and he doesn't turn out to be a great guy. And she also, Ariadne, is the wife of Dionysus, which I was super excited for because I am a BTS fan and they have a song called Dionysus, and I was like super pumped to get Dionysus in here. And this is just really a feminist retelling. Jennifer Saint has a few books now of her just telling stories of women in Greek mythology who just seem to be forgotten in Greek mythology, and I just love that. If you are into Greek mythology at all, I would definitely suggest picking this book up. And even if you're not, because I wasn't someone who was super into Greek mythology, I would still suggest picking this up because it is literally amazing. Okay, the next two books are actually by the same author, and that is The Great Alone and The Nightingale, both by Kristen Hanna. I am completely discovering my love for Kristen Hanna. I have now read 3 books by her, and I've rated them all 5 stars. And I really just want to dive into her backlist at this point. In The Nightingale, you are following 2 sisters in France during World War II. You're following one sister who has a family and is just trying to keep her family alive. And you have another sister who is a bit more rebellious and has decided to join the resistance. And this book is just beautifully written, and it is heartbreaking, and it just keeps you so engaged in the story the entire time. You know, at the heart of this, you're just following these 2 amazing, strong women in the worst of circumstances. And then in The Great Alone, you are following a young girl in the 70s whose family moves to Alaska, where the conditions are just so rough. You're just following her as she grows up and her family through their difficulties. Her father was a prisoner of war and is really struggling with some mental health issues, and just so much is going on as they are trying to survive out in the middle of Alaska. One thing that I just really find that I'm loving about Kristen Hanna is not only her writing, but the way that she writes her female characters with so much strength. She just writes some really strong female characters, and I'm really enjoying that. The next one that I read that I loved, I'm actually a little shocked about, because it is The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. I loved this book so much. And the reason I'm shocked about it is because this is a Carrie retelling, and I have never read Carrie. I have never seen Carrie. I have absolutely zero interest to read or see Carrie ever in life. I really don't have any interest at all. So I was really shocked that I loved this Carrie retelling. This is about Maddie, and Maddie is white passing, and through an incident involving Rain and her hair, it is discovered that she is not white, but she is biracial, and some kids at school decide to bully her. Well, a video of this bullying goes viral, and the world is looking at this school like, what the heck is wrong with you guys? And then it is discovered that the school actually has segregated proms, and the school leaders decide they're going to throw an integrated prom to show the world that their school is not racist. And things happen. I really enjoyed this. I am really hoping to reread it because I want to tab it up. This book was so good. I love how Tiffany D. Jackson always puts the topic of race in her books. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. And lastly, I love Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book was absolutely amazing. I recently read this back in November, and I immediately just fell in love with the book and the characters and had to annotate it. This book is about Carrie Soto, and Carrie Soto is a tennis player who is retired, but during her time, she was like the best of the best. So she is currently retired, and a newer tennis player is on their way to breaking her record. And Carrie Soto decides that she is going to come out of retirement, even though she is past her prime, past the, age of playing tennis professionally. She is going to come out of retirement. She is going to train and she is going to defend her record. And I loved it. Carrie Soto is not a likable character. She is very arrogant. She is very blunt. She's not someone who makes friends very easily, but I loved her. I loved her a lot. She really is kind of just like that bitch. So I loved her. And I love, Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing so much. She just has this ability to make you fall in love with her characters. Now, I did mention this in my wrap up as well, but I do think there is a conversation to be had about Taylor Jenkins Reid and her writing of characters of different ethnicities and nationalities. I do not feel like I am the one to have that conversation because she did it in this. Carrie Soto is, I'm not for sure what her exact nationality or ethnicity is, but she is Latinx, and I know Evelyn Hugo also is Latinx, so I'm not for sure how I feel about that. I'm not the one to have that conversation. Yeah, you guys, I really loved all of these books. I felt like this was such a good reading year for me. I'm discovering new authors that I love and really solidifying some authors as my favorite authors, which is just so great. So if you guys liked this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below if you've read one of these. And also, if you want to see more videos from me, go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video.